Hello everyone, and today we're going to create a 2D plane and using Unity 3D. So we're not gonna use Blender to model, we're just gonna use Unity 3D to create a mesh. So basically, first of all, let's create a C# script. Call this square, because 2D plane is basically, we're just gonna create a square. So go click it, open it up. By the way, I reinstalled Windows, so I don't have Visual Studio at the moment. I still need to install it. Okay, so before we actually get into this, let's open Paint and let me explain a few things. Basically, every mesh contains vertices, and to create a square we need 4 vertices. And as you can see, there are the 4 vertices. If you connect them, that will make a square. But the way you create a mesh in computing is you use triangles to create every mesh. So we're going to use one triangle like this and then another triangle like this to create our mesh, which is a square or a rectangle. We're going to create a square, but that kind of looks like a rectangle. So let's create this square. In fact, before we create it, I'm going to remove it from main camera because I don't want to put it there. Let's create a new empty object. Position it 0, 0. Make sure the camera is facing it. I'm pretty sure it is. Add in the square, and that's it. So it's just an empty object with a transform component and a header, and we're gonna code everything ourselves. I'm gonna name this object square. Okay, now first of all, we need to tell it where all the vertices are. This will have 4 vertices, as you saw, 4 vertices. So we need to tell it all of the 4 vertices, and vertices are an array of vector 3. So let's just call it vert equals to new vector 3. Okay, now if you don't know, you can actually type in numbers here like this, or you could have done this. You could have put its length up to 4 and done vert 0 equals to and vector 3 dot 0. You could have done that and went through with this way, or but to make it simpler, we're just gonna use this way. So the first vertex, let's in fact number them first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the first, this is the middle. This is 0, 0. This is where I want the 0, 0 to be. So this is gonna be 1, negative 1, 1, negative 1, and negative. Sorry, negative 1 and 1. So new vector 3. So it's going to be negative 1, comma 1, and the z-axis is always going to be 0 since it's 2D. Just created 4 there. Okay, so the next one is 1, 1. The next one is 1, negative 1, and the last is negative 1, negative 1. Okay, now to tell it to create the triangle, what we need to do is we need to the triangles are an int array, and you're probably wondering how can you create triangles with an integer, new int. And the way it works is it takes the number of vertex. So if I type in 0, 1, 2, what's gonna happen is it's gonna choose this, this, and this. So it's gonna be like 1, 2, 3, and then it's gonna create a triangle like that. And it just starts with 0 instead of starting at 1. So remember, it's going to start with these 3. So we created this triangle, 0, 1, 2, which is 1, 2, 3. So we created this triangle. Now we need to create one more, and it's going to be 0, 3, 2. Remember, you need to take away 1 because it starts with 0. So 0, 3, 2. So 0, 3, 2. Okay, now basically That's how you would create a plane. It's simple. Okay, now all we need to do is create a new mesh and apply this stuff to it. So create a new mesh, mesh.vertices equals to vert, and mesh.triangles equals to triangles, whatever we called it. And we're also gonna do mesh.recalculate normals, and you can also recalculate bounds, but we'll just ignore that. Okay, and let's check if we have a component. By the way, I will explain this once more once we're done with the coding. So let's check if this has a mesh filter component. If it doesn't have a mesh filter component, then we're going to add one. Okay, add component mesh filter. We're also going to check if component, I can't spell, if it has mesh renderer component. If it doesn't, then we're going to add that as well. Add, oops, sorry, it's a capital A. Add component. I probably misspelled it. Hold on. Let me just copy paste this. And mesh renderer. Oops. Okay, we added the mesh filter and mesh renderer component. If it doesn't exist, then what we're going to do is we're gonna take the mesh filter, which handles the mesh, and pass down our mesh. Remember, this our mesh doesn't actually have a material, so it will kind of look weird to start with. So let's minimize this and run the script. Oops, there's an error. Let's see what this error is. Oh, and sorry, it's supposed to be a small g because we're accessing the game object the script is attached to, not the game object class. Okay, there you go. We created our plane, and it works fine. Okay, now let's add some material. In fact, before we add material to it, let me explain this again. Okay, now we created all these vertices. In fact, let's change the names to 0, 1, 2. In fact, let's rub this out. Kind of increase it. Come on. Okay, let's shoot this. So we have one here, one here, one here. Oops, that's one bigger, and one here. And this is gonna be. I thought I could write 0 with that, but it didn't work. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so first of all, these are all of our vertices. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, in that order. And then we're telling it we're going to create one triangle with 0, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2 is going to be like this. 0, 1, 2. I forgot to actually copy this. Okay. So creating it like so. Okay, then the next one, 0, 3, 2, which is going to be 0, 3, 2, and it's going to go back once more. Okay. Now, to actually show you what's the difference between, if you're wondering that why can't I do 0, 2, 1, because you're probably wondering it will be the same thing if it's 0, 1, and then it goes to 2, and then comes back to 0, or 0, 2, and then 1. You're probably thinking it's going to be the same thing, but actually it's different. And I'll actually show you why once we attach material to this mesh. To attach material, we're just going to create an object. We're not going to go into material maybe I'll do another tutorial on it. So material, and we're going to just call it matte for now. And when we create our mesh, we're just gonna call mesh.material. Oops. Oh, sorry. It's gonna be in our mesh renderer component. So, game object dot get component mesh renderer dot material equals to matte. Minimize this. Go to our object. Wait, let's clear the console. Let's create a new material. Okay. Now let's call this simple. Okay. Add this to the square. Let's play the game. And you probably notice a few weird things if you've done this correctly. Basically, you'll notice that your plane can only be viewed from one side, and if you actually spawn the plane that Unity gives you, okay, and that can be only be viewed from one side as well. Okay, and there's actually a good reason for that. So the reason is that if you have, for example, a cube, then no one's gonna look inside that cube. Your player's never gonna go inside this cube. So there's no point in wasting graphics performance for the inside of the cube. We can just basically use that performance to do other stuff. So the inside of this cube isn't rendered, and the way it does it is it creates planes, and it only renders one side of the plane. So that's why if we play this, we can only see one side of this, and we can't see the other side. Okay, now remember when I was telling you that it actually does matter how you create your triangles? Well, basically this is where that comes in. If you create it the other way, so if you create 1, 2, and 2, 3, is gonna reverse it. See, as you can see, we can now see it perfectly fine from the game or the camera. So that's how you create a plane mesh. And let's go back into the script. Let me try and explain it once more. In fact, you actually don't need to remember this. In fact, we'll go into this more further, but this is really simple script, So we're probably going to cover some bones and weights and skin rendering and a lot more. So remember, these are your vertices, your triangles, and obviously you need to create your vertices before your triangles. Otherwise it won't work properly. That's the way you're supposed to do it. The way we're doing it, you would probably, if you even created your triangles before, it would still work, but normally it's just create your vertices first and then the triangles. Now, some people might be wondering, why did I create two separate arrays? Why didn't I just made them equal to it? Well, there's a good reason for that. Basically, these mesh.vertices, these are vector3 array, and we're just making it equal to that. And some people are probably wondering that if I comment this out, and let's just comment this out, some people are probably wondering that why didn't I do this? Mesh dot triangles, mesh dot vertices. Yeah, so some people are wondering, why didn't I just do this? It's exactly the same thing, and you're right, it would actually work. Let's play this. Yep, it does work. Okay, now the problem with this is that if you set it like 4, and let's set this to, let's see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 6, and I'm not gonna try and remember. I'm obviously gonna forget the number, so I'm just gonna do it right now. So mesh 0 is gonna be equal to 0, 6. So if we do it like this way, 1 2 3 4 5, so it's gonna be 1 2 0 2 3. Okay, now let's do the same thing. Mesh dot vertices 0 equals to new vector 3, 1 2 3 4. Okay, 1 2 3, and let's copy these into the thing. So initially this is the same thing, so it should work. That's the idea. But as you can see, nothing pops up because it doesn't work like that. You see, once you create a new array, what it does is it makes sure that there is a vector 3, there's like an actual vector 3 in that like in that variable, sorry. So if it equals to null, it basically deletes it. So when we create a new vector 3 array, then all of the stuff is null, so it's just gonna delete all of it, and this entire code would be useless, except unless you do it the way I'm doing it. Then the code would actually work. So let's cut all of this and let's put it here, and let's create a new vert. This is another way of doing it. So and interest. In fact, let's do this. There we go, and that's it. Now if we do it this way, oops, forgot this one. If we do it this way, it should work. As you can see, it does work. So that's the reason why you create an array for the vertices, you create an array for the triangles, and then you pass all the data down at once, so nothing weird or bad happens. And basically the mesh filter component handles the mesh, and then mesh render component displays the mesh on the screen. So we basically pass down, once we created the mesh and we passed all the vertices to that new mesh we created, we pass down that new mesh to the mesh filter, and we basically pass down the material to the mesh render so it can render the material on the screen. So that's how that works. And if you actually change the color, it does actually work. See, you can use the material to however you like it. Later on we will actually cover shaders and more stuff, but this was basically it. I'm probably going to put comments in and then upload the script and upload this video as well. So in fact, comment below if you would like me to show you more of this stuff, because I looked this up, and I don't think anyone teaches how to create meshes in Unity 3D, and it's actually quite simple once you get the hang of it. So see ya, and yep, that's pretty much it.